It's funny how most people don't notice left-handers, apart from the guitar is like the really obvious.
Yeah,
It's
right.
the wrong
Wait a
way
minute.
round. What the hell is Paul McCartney doing there?
Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another Friday viewer request installment of the Audiophiles. We are happy to have you. John, how are you, man?
Yeah, top of the morning.
Excellent. Top of the early evening, my time to you. So we, as I alluded to earlier, there's going to be a viewer request that we're going to dig into, and it's actually... This is coming from Dana Ex Machina, who is actually also known as just my buddy Dana, who put forth this request way back when we did the song Zoom by Last Dinosaurs, the Australian outfit. And this song is actually called Italo Disco. So I'm going to have you listen to that. I am familiar with this tune. John, you're not. So... what better time than now, and what better place than here to give it a listen? Go off, check it out, and come back and let Dana, myself, and everybody else out there know what you think of this, man.
Will do.
All right.
Well, that's a short song, a third of the way through. Nice start. I think that sort of main motif is him playing the guitar, that effect. It almost sounds like a synthy version of someone whistling. Overall, it has a real sort of wistful, almost lackadaisical feel to it. That, yeah, with the vocals as well, they're quite... This is different vocals, definitely, from the what I heard before. It's quite sort of CA6 vocals, sort of farty British indie, Sarah Records sort of thing, which I do like. But yeah, it's got a catchy nature to it in a way, but it's a really simple song. I'm not catching the words he's saying, so I'm sure they're very important to him, but yeah, it's just pleasant.
I watch the sunset and something's telling me that I gotta get up and chase it. There will always be a place in my heart. But baby, can't you see we were meant to fall apart? We gave.
Just to say, I really like it when they broke it, and it's just that guitar. It's not got a lot of crap on it, so it's sounding like a really nice basic guitar, and that's a nice sort of technique to just drop it to that. Sounds good.
Who would have thought love wasn't enough? In the end, we'd say, bye, my love, yes, I'll see you someday.
Wow, I like that. Yeah, that was over quick. Yeah, it's a pleasant little ditty. I wouldn't say it's left a lasting impression on me, but it was enjoyable. And the sort of like that high little sort of phrase was quite nice, very sort of hummable, whistleable. Yeah, the vocals weren't particularly strong, but yeah, I'm not too bothered about that. Some of his la la la's weren't particularly great, which made me chuckle. But yeah, overall it was nice. Yeah, I caught some lyrics about. Oh, I've got to read them back what I wrote down now. But something about uh, head on his shoulder, weight, sleepy-eyed, etc. So again, it's this sort of very gentle scenario. There might have been another verse where he gets out his butcher's knives, but I missed that. But yeah, it was all right. Let's go back and see what Andy makes of this.
All right. So you've returned from your Italian discotheque. What? Oh, you know what? I failed to mention this in the beginning. This was obviously, as you've seen by now, this is a live version of it, like a studio version done by Audiotree Live, which I think we've done a couple from their channel before here on this, and they usually do really good stuff. I don't know if they're
there was an Oh Brother, which was Audiotree, wasn't there?
Yes, there was. Yeah, exactly. So, what'd you make of this performance and this tune?
Yeah, it was a really gentle song, wasn't it? So it starts off with that it's almost like a whistling motif on the guitar. You think someone humming it or whistling it. You know, it has that quality, that phrase, that do 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 do, that has that quality of being instantly familiar, even though you've never heard it before. And it's rare when people can do that. You know, and that is a genuine talent to be able to do. And it has a touch, to my mind, this is not in any way an insult, but almost like a piece of TV music, like a theme or something like that. And it has a bit of age to it. You know, it feels like something that was from a few years ago. I'm not talking like 1950s or something, but you know, it just with the quality of the melody has something which is a bit sort of old to it. I did notice in the side, the link he gave me, so it's there on YouTube, and then the sidebar of all the other sort of bits, someone had done a 1 hour remix of the intro to this song. So obviously it hits for some people.
Yeah, clearly, right?
Safe to say, I did not click on that.
You didn't have an hour to spare of listening to the same melody over and over again?
Okay, now. I mean, yeah. But then again, I remember when we talked about number 13, Baby by Pixies, someone had done that, and I thought that was a brilliant idea. So there you go. You pays your money, you takes your choice, you know. So fair enough. Fair enough, yeah. So the vocals start. I don't have a huge amount of notes to this, by the way, and it is a short song as well. So there's a lot of sort of impressions rather than anything. So the vocals start, and they're very different from Zoom. So this had more of that, and immediately put me in mind of like C86, sort of weedy British indie qualities to his voice, sort of Sarah Records, etc. Luckily, I'm very fond of that kind of sound. So, and I was quite enjoying his ever so slightly pained output. It's these people, when they sing like that, it's like, oh, I'm kind of hurting inside, but I don't want to show it. Sort of thing. I do enjoy that. I do. I know it's really sort of funny. And he's a lefty, I noticed, which I always root for lefties because I'm lefty as well. So there you
go. Well, interesting little factoid about our requester. So is Dana, who always played a left-handed Telecaster when we would play music together. So,
right, yeah. It's funny how most people don't notice left-handers apart from the guitar. It's like the really obvious thing.
Yeah.
It's
right?
the wrong way round. What the hell is Paul McCartney doing there? But anyway, I always notice it. If anyone's just writing something down, it's left-handed. Anyway, and here's another weird thing by a sidebar. I went to art college, and you did different modules in a sort of foundation year, and so we were doing our turn in fashion. You imagine I was riveted. And the woman there, she was a bit of a weirdo sort of hippie type thing, and she goes, I just want to do an experiment. Hands up who's left-handed. And there was a class of about, I don't know, 20 tops. And about 8 people put their hands up left-handed, which is a really high proportion compared to the general population. And she goes, right, hands up who's vegetarian. And a different set of hands went up. She goes, it's always the same number. Isn't that weird? I don't know why that's always stuck in my head, but there you go.
I was waiting for you to say a fraction of the people raised their right hand when asked who's left-handed, and I was going to leave. You outed yourself.
I said, right, all of you out. No.
Exactly.
So it's vocals as well at that point, and I don't know if this is a false memory or not, but they kind of, one of the first, I mean, apart from the sort of British indie weedy stuff, it also, in a way, reminded me of Sean Lennon's first album, Into the Sun. Because he does sound a bit like his dad, but also he has that vulnerability to his voice as well.
Yeah.
It's an okay album. That first song, Mystery Juice, I think it's really good. And after that, it steadily goes downhill. And the only reason I think I bought it is because it was on Grand Royal label, Beastie Boys. But anyway, so this is a very simple song. And the rest of the band kind of shuffle along, really. And even though your man with the blonde hair is doing that he's trying to swing around while he's doing it, trying to show a bit of interest. But he could clearly be doing this in his sleep, as the drummer and the rest of them as well. It's like, I was thinking of like a band that performs at somewhere like a casino or whatever. Is it lunch soon? We've just got this and quando to do, and then we're off. But yeah, I would say it's a really pleasant song. It's really nice. I didn't find it gripping or anything for me. It was just, it kind of washed over me. It wasn't unpleasant, but it didn't really hit either. It's just nice. I did enjoy his vocalizing around the sort of 120, 130 mark, about halfway. It made me smile. I mean, even he didn't look convinced when he was doing it. And that kind of, his expression kind of charmed me as well, because I think, oh, great. At least he's not taking himself, it's not a bit, because it wasn't spot on. No auto-tuning there, which would have been horrible. There was a point in the song where, towards the, I don't know, 2/3 mark, where it all dropped out. And it was just him singing and just strumming the guitar. Oh, I've written down here 210. There you go. And that actually sounded lovely. And the guitar sounded really nice because it sounded to me sort of naked. It didn't have many effects on it. I'm not an aficionado, but it sounded pretty straightforward, And that, I think, had a really nice pure sound that actually was the most emotional part of the song for me, that actually really works, and I sort of felt a bit more of it then. So in the context of this sort of simple song, I really like that part, and it sounded great as well. It really did. I didn't catch many of the words because, being a teenager, lost from love or whatever, he's obviously tortured, and he did mumble a little bit, but there was, the general impression I got was angst about a young relationship. And there's a few, he said something at the start about sun setting, and so it had that kind of wistful quality about it. There's a bit about head and his shoulder and waking up sleepy-eyed or something, and then when it got a bit further on, he said about written in history, and we were meant to fall apart or something. So I'm guessing this is an episodic. This is an episode in his life, sorry, where he's with someone and then not with them anymore, etc. And he's looking back on it, which is, we all do. So it seemed to be sort of reminiscent of something that happened before. So yeah, something else, but it's not earth shattering. It was wistful and really pleasant, and I enjoyed listening to it, but it wasn't like a big tune for me or anything. It was just nice.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent summation of the tune. It isn't like earth-shattering or groundbreaking in any way, right? It's not going to change your life. Listen to it unless perhaps you've gone through something very similar, probably recently, and it strikes a chord with you. Which oftentimes, I mean, I've got an endless list of songs that are probably fit that bill. You know what I mean? But there is something I do love, the blissful, like, nature of the whole song and how it has this like lazy river quality to it. It's like this lazy whimsy to the whole thing. Yeah. And as simple and rudimentary as it is, I love the little melody that's being played on the Jazzmaster guitar. It is oddly familiar, even though it's unique. It is its own thing. Like, I don't think it's a pastiche of anything or ripping off anything. It's just, it has this quality about it that is familiar. Maybe that's why you think it would be a great television show theme, because those kinds of methods are used to rope in viewers and listeners. You know what I mean? So it has the quality.
At the back of my mind somewhere, it's not the same, but it's reminding me of some old TV show, I think from the 70s, where it's kind of like very similar, and it just kind of, that's why it's sparking off in my head, and that's why it gives me this sense of reminiscence and nostalgia as well.
Well,
because it does, in its quality is like that, isn't it?
Yeah, and given what you've said, at least at your base level understanding of what the song is about from a lyrical standpoint, does that quality of music not perfectly fit
exactly
content where you're reminiscing and you're remembering something, and there's this air of nostalgic about what you're espousing? So all of this, like, the soundscape matches the lyrics so well that I think it's a lovely marriage of music and lyrics and theme, right? That's used here. So I enjoy it. I enjoy the song a lot. I personally like Zoom a lot more because of all the fun guitars that are happening throughout there and just like the spastic nature of it all. But this is almost like the polar opposite of that. And yet I still really like it. And I think one thing that's interesting about this, and I'll do a band recap really quickly. It's Sean Caskey on in this case, the Jazzmaster melody creator, a lead guitar, if you will. Lachlan Caskey, who is the singer and rhythm guitarist on this tune. Michael Sloan.
Was it him singing on Zoom? Or was it the other guy?
That's what I was going to get to. Yeah, it's Michael Sloan on bass and Dan Koyama on drums. And the brothers switch roles in this song, and they do in song to song. So you get it's a completely different voice from Zoom. Yeah. It's a completely different vibe from Zoom. Zoom is almost like this euphoric takeoff where you're like a dopamine hit, and this is more of like slowed down and introspective and emotional, and it's kind of like a different side of the same Last Dinosaurs coin. So it is. I thought it was a good pick by Dana, not only because I think it's a decent song, but because here's this whole other side of the band, right, that you're getting a glimpse into. Also, this is off an album that was 2 albums after In a Million Years, which was the album that featured Zoom. So this is kind of like later down the line from them as well. But yeah, it was the name of that album, their third album, is Humano Garden. It was released on October 5th, 2018. And it was preceded by the singles Dominoes and 11. And there was an album launch party held that night where the Last Dinosaurs showcased their new album. The third album was the band's first full creation that was entirely do-it-yourself, as they took it upon themselves to write, mix, and produce all the songs single-handedly. So this is very much their own, too, and it shows you what you can kind of achieve in a couple albums when you earn a little cash with your record label, and you've got a little bit more pull. And that's probably a really great feeling as an artist, to be able to like take full ownership and control over your own sound. The album debuted number 26 in Australia's ARIA charts. And yeah, let's dig into the lyrics a little bit.
I have to sound it just quickly. I mean, they sound young, but God, they look young. And
Yeah,
this is their third album, but jeez.
I know, and they do look
Terrible.
very, very young. They've all got these boyish faces to them as well. I mean, I don't know how old they were when in 2018, and given that it was a few years after In a Million Years, but they didn't look like they aged really at all. They just look like they got
drummer looks so young. I mean,
yeah, I know. It's so funny.
Depressing, isn't it? Anyway.
Yeah. The older we get, the younger they look is I guess the moral of that story. So, and when I think of everything that we did together somewhere in Verona, the sunset over our time together, thinking it over. So young and as we sit here talking about how they look like they're 16. So young and sentimental, our hearts so gentle. Such a shame we had to drift apart. Oh, but I can't help just wonder. Could we really last forever? I watch the sun set, and something is telling me that I gotta get up and chase it. Day of transit, the gentle weight of your head on my shoulder. I wake you at the last stop. You're sleepy-eyed in the gloomy weather, raining in Florence. Your cold hands and your wet hair, while we're cursing. Cheap umbrellas trying to get home. Now we're written in history. We close the book we've opened up. There will always be a place in my heart, but baby, can't you see we were meant to fall apart? We gave it up. Who would have thought love wasn't enough? In the end, we'd say, bye, my love. Guess I'll see you someday. And a little write-up about the lyrics. Italo Disco tells of lead singer Lachlan Caskey's reminiscing on his time in Italy with an old lover. However, the song ends by suggesting that the relationship takes more than just a mutual love to be successful. And Lachlan himself, in an interview, would expand on the lyrics and say, I was on a bus from Florence to Verona in Italy with my now ex-girlfriend, and I had a mini Korg MIDI keyboard that I was making little loops on. All the chords and melody came out with no filter, as I was just recording the first idea that occurred to me. The following day in Verona, when my girlfriend of 5.5 years and I agreed that we couldn't continue. Hell of a time to break up when you're in the middle of a international vacation. Though we still love each other unconditionally, something was given up whilst we were in Verona. Ironically, Verona is the fictional hometown of Romeo and Juliet, and is hence is a super romanticized place. This prominently stuck in the front of my mind while we were walking on the streets together. I think the sweetness and gentleness of the song reflects who we were at the time. The song is sad, but honest. So, yeah, interesting. I guess that is kind of interesting to occur in a place like this tragic romance story of Romeo and Juliet. Luckily, no one dies at the end of this story, but there's the same sort of lost love situation happening in the city that is most known for, two people who fictionally fell in and then out of love because of death.
Yeah, and of course, Juliet was underage, so he'd have been arrested anyway.
Yeah, them's were the times, John.
They call that progress. Yeah.
I wonder what the Catholic Church was up to during those times. But yeah, I digress. Dana, this was a really good shout. John, thank you for giving it a listen and finding some whimsy and character to the song, even though it was a pretty simple little tune. Folks out there in the listening audience, let us know what you thought of this second go with Last Dinosaurs and this tune. We'd be interested to hear your thoughts. If you have any other songs you'd like to suggest, feel free to deposit them in the comments field below. John and I scour that on a pretty daily basis and log it for future reference. So we're always looking for new stuff to check out on Fridays. Also, if you would be so kind and so inclined, think about liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. We're trying to grow, and we can't do that without y'all, and we greatly, greatly appreciate it. Doesn't cost you anything but the second it takes to click the like button, and the second it takes to subscribe, and the couple seconds it might take to share. So thanks again. And John and I hopefully will see all y'all and some more on the next installment of the Audiophiles. See you later, guys.